long story short, we are back, and
by the way, another day has passed, just to be clear.
Yeah, let's see what can we do now. Okay, so this thing isn't on.
I think it is. It should be.
Nothing is going on, so it's not responding.
Okay.
Okay, now it works. Okay, anyhow, probably a bad contact or something. Anyhow, we are back with Ubuntu installation. Let's go here. English, done, and Ethernet card is not on.
Do we need Ethernet card?
No, absolutely not. Continue without network is fine. No proxy, nothing. No need to use the mirror because we have nothing. So, with regards to partitioning, we are going to do something special here. We'll set up software RAID 5 since the controller doesn't support RAID 5. So this is an interesting option. We can use Ubuntu here. And for that, we cannot use the pre-configured setting that is offered here because we can use either of the 4 drives, and this doesn't work for us. We would need to use the custom storage layout. So let's do that. And as you can see here, all disks are unused. They are completely cleaned up. They are, you know, as fresh as new, except that, you know, Seagate after 9 years isn't really new.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, anyhow, what we will create is a configuration where we have the UEFI partition on the first disk and potentially...
Well, actually on all of the drives.
We could technically also edit on all of the drives. We will do that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we'll create a configuration where we have the UEFI disk, and we can later... so Ubuntu will install the UEFI partition obviously only on one disk, but we can later always copy the contents, which are very rarely changed, on all the rest of the drives, and we can do this manually. Ubuntu supports only one UEFI bootable disk, obviously, but we can kind of mirror this partition on all of them. Anyhow, let's...
Yeah, and by the way, the idea for mirroring is because if one drive fails...
And the first drive is the one that fails.
Exactly, and then...
You will not be able to boot.
Exactly, so then the system will boot from the second hard drive, and that partition will be on that drive.
Yeah, exactly, and this will be a kind of a spare boot partition. So this is actually...
This will be a failure.
Let's see if that configuration is supported. But anyhow, this should work in theory absolutely very well. So let's start with creating the UEFI partition. For that, we will mark the first disk as a boot device. That's half a gigabyte, 512 megabytes, and we need to allocate the same space on all the disks. I will add an unformatted partition on all the disks. So, this was a bit wrong. We'll cut this out.
First we need to add GPT, which will be 500 megs.
512 megs, unformatted, and create. So, third disk, same story, add GPT. I cannot make boot device of all the disks. Ubuntu supports obviously only one.
Yeah.
Create and create add GPT 512 megs unformatted. So we have 4 disks that are used exactly the same amount of space is allocated, and only one partition is obviously used. That's the partition on the first drive, which is going to be formatted as UEFI partition. We can copy the contents later on the others. Okay, so now we will create disks to be used in RAID 5, but in this case we'll create them very small, like only 20 gigabytes, so we don't wait for 3 hours for all the disks to sync.
Yeah, because when you create a RAID, and this is usually the case, for example, if your hard drive fails, then everything needs to be resynced, and we are only
testing.
Yeah, just to see whether this thing will work when we remove a drive, because if it fails, then yeah.
Then we don't really have a RAID 5.
Exactly.
We have something else. So this is software RAID, obviously, so it might have some issues that hardware RAID will obviously not have. So booting
like a failure,
like failing to work properly in this configuration. So let's note what we are creating here. That grub will actually have to boot from the RAID. So grub will have to set up the software RAID and then boot from this virtual partition that joined 4 disks. So this is quite a tricky configuration when you look at it, but it's supported, so it should work in theory. So I need 4 unformatted partitions with 20 gigabytes in size, one per disk. In this case, I will create GPT 20G unformatted because obviously I will use them for MD RAID. 20G here, 20G here as well. Unformatted, create, and finally 20G here, unformatted. And now we'll use the create software RAID MD to use 20,
Yeah,
20.
we just need to use
20.
RAID 5, not mirror.
And obviously not mirrored. Yeah, that would absolutely suck. We don't need like 4 copies of this thing. Yeah. Okay.
On the other hand, it might work.
It might work better. Yeah, that would be a good idea. You will notice that we have RAID 5 and that we have almost 60 gigabytes available. That means that the RAID 5 is set up correctly because we had like 4 times 20 and 20 is the spare drive, and so we have 60 gigabytes available. That means that we set up good. With RAID 1 we would have way less. So
It's got 20 gigs.
20 gigs. That would be absolutely nothing. So,
On the other hand, super safe 20 gigs.
super safe. Yeah, that would be a lot of dyings,
Yeah.
and I would be able to take all these out. Okay. Done. We have new software type. As you can see, we still cannot proceed because we need to create a partition
Or
here.
partition, yes.
We'll use ext4 because that's the default. We'll use the maximum size. ext4 is the default file system. It's still good for the servers. Red Hat recommends XFS, but ext4 is also good. So we have no special requirements, and then we are done. Finally, we can start installing Ubuntu. Oh, do you want to lose data? Yeah, of course, we want to lose data. My name is Vedran.
Yeah.
My server name is Hephaestus. That's creation for the Greek god Hephaestus. My username will obviously be Vedran, and my password will be 1234.
Super safe password.
Super safe password. Nobody is going to hack me because I'm not on the internet.
Oh yeah, and by the way,
Ooh!
well, this I think that we should probably update the installer.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, but seriously, this server is gifted and keeps on giving. So yeah, let me get the cable.
Okay.
So
Wow! Fucking Dave!
we'll be back after, well, everything is done. So yeah, we ended up rebooting because, well, why not? So that's like 5th or 6th reboot, and we couldn't get a USB stick to boot because, well, I'm not quite sure why, and we couldn't get a network to start because I'm not quite sure why. So yeah, being a system administrator is fun. Yeah. So one restart later, and we are updating the
Installer.
yeah. So because, well, as you've seen, the original one crashed. So yeah, we'll be back after we configure the well, hard drives.
Hard drives should be up from the last time, so I shouldn't need to partition anything. Yes, that actually works very nice. Okay. So I have an existing partition which will be used as a boot device, and I have an existing partition,
And we have a software RAID, so
software RAID, which is here, and I will format it as
partition. Okay.
a GPT partition. I will create it again, and that's it.
That should be it.
That should be all.
Where is the UEFI partition?
UEFI partition is on the first disk.
Yeah, and where is it?
It's here, partition 1, on
okay.
the first disk, because it's the same serial number.
Yeah, no, so the first, okay, because this is the first drive.
And all the others are unused for now,
Okay.
which is fine. Okay,
That should be it, right?
software RAID is shown as unused, but it shouldn't matter. This should be okay. Okay. Done. Continue. Okay. Okay, this is very interesting
And you know why?
because
We're using the other file system. This should be due to RAID.
we misconfigured the RAID,
Well, not misconfigured, we configured it properly.
but with
However-
the old version.
Yeah.
Okay, let's crash this RAID. Sudo dev md admin. I think that's the one. dd minus if equals dev 0
No.
of dev sd e okay bytes 1k count 64 is definitely enough. This is, I think, even too much.
Okay, so could you explain this command? So,
Yes, so
okay, basically this is the cloning tool, right?
dd is a cloning tool,
Exactly.
and in order to destroy the GPT partition, I think you need to clean up first 32 kilobytes or 36 kilobytes, I'm not sure, but anyhow 64 kilobytes is certainly enough. So if I copy 64 blocks of 1 kilobyte, then I have destroyed the GPT partition, and the disk is zeroed, so it's as it would be bought new. So
Basically you're copying from /dev/0, basically you're copying zeros.
Yes.
OF is the output, so this is the output device, which is the hard drive, right?
yes,
Okay.
and then I did E, D, and here are B and C, and I don't want to destroy my USB stick. So C and B, and yeah,
And that should
we have now 4 disks which are completely clean, so we should be good. Let's see, we restarted the installer. English, done. Network is configured, done, done, done. Custom storage target.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a clean situation, let's redo this. So, make boot device, add GPT, leave unformatted, 12 megabytes, the same story as before, unformatted, 512 megabytes. Okay, okay, and now we are ready to create the other partitions, also unformatted. Let's put them 20G.
Yeah, 20 gigabytes is okay.
20 gigabytes is fine. Create. Here, add GPT 20G. Unformatted is fine. Create. Add GPT 20G. Unformatted is fine. Add GPT 20G. Unformatted is fine. And now, group. So, RAID 5, obviously. It's up. 2, 2, and 2 again. And we have an MD drive. Let's try with XFS this time. It shouldn't really matter, either should work well.
Maximum, yeah.
Yeah, maximum, and that's it. So we are done. Let's see. Could it be due to ext4? Could be. Don't know.
Maybe the driver for the ext4
is broken. Let's see. Vedran server.
Okay.
Done.
Okay.
Install the OpenSSH server. Done. Okay, we didn't have this last time. So, okay, interesting. So, ext. Damn it, same thing.
You know what? This thing is actually proven to be failure, and I'm actually ready to go and check out to see whether I have a card that will work with this server. What do you think about that?
Yes.
Because
This software rating isn't really working very well.
okay, so yeah, software thing.
Software thing isn't really working very well.
Okay, so yeah, I do have some cards from my HP servers, and I'll take my camera and I'll go and we'll see what we can find. This one, not really. However, there are a couple of ones which this one should work. I actually have a couple of those. And this is the my caching battery, which I already made in my last video. So let's try with this card. We'll need to disassemble the server.
Okay. Should you turn it off, obviously?
Let's just... There you go. It's off.
Okay. Okay. Remove the cover.
So yeah, basically we will remove this card and we'll install the new one in here. So I think this should work in theory.
Yep.
So you know what? First we'll remove the connectors, and I will actually disconnect this card because we do not need that card. And just out of curiosity, can I actually place this thing in here, or is it...
It's too wide.
Is it?
It's slightly too wide.
Yeah. So we'll connect it in here. Oh, what the hell. By the way, caching, yes or no? What's the plan?
You can put it for now.
Okay. Let's install it.
So raise the blue thing.
Yeah. And
Blue plastic of some kind.
just press it in there. It's actually quite neat.
So it has built-in socket risers, slot risers, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, very nice.
That's
Very
underneath.
convenient. Very convenient.
Yeah. And will it go like this? I think it will. And
Yeah, your cable management is top-notch.
this actually looks quite nice. And that should probably be it. So let's close the server. And let's try with this. Actually, I know that this thing supports hardware RAID. So we'll need to place the battery for the caching somewhere.
Okay.
And I need the double-sided tape for that. I'm not quite sure where to put it. Maybe something like
we
this
can
here.
leave it out for now and we can decide this a bit later.
Okay, then I'll remove the caching because the caching needs to be removed.
Okay.
The caching actually can be used without the battery, but if your computer crashes, then that would not be a good thing, or data would be lost. This way I just remove the memory itself and the cache won't be used. Okay, so let's close the server and let's hope for the best. To be honest, the way we did software RAID is actually the way it should be done. However, it does not work, so maybe with the future update, but then again hardware RAID is always better. So yeah, I do need to connect the power supply, obviously.
Okay, here we go again.
Yeah. Here we go again. So, this is the piece of shit, I'm not quite sure how to call it, that does not support...
RAID 5.
Yeah. Nothing but RAID 1 and RAID 0, which is kind of pathetic. Seriously, for server equipment, definitely pathetic. Ah well. So, I'll take the keyboard, just to see whether the controller will start, because we do need to configure the RAID. So I believe it's control something, control H or something like that. I will see. Or F8 or something like that. So okay. It does need memory.
It does need the cache.
Yeah. Mother.
Oh,
So, since this thing does not actually work without caching card, we've installed the caching card in here. This is the battery pack, and this is the controller itself. It actually looks quite neat, and this thing will not be moving anywhere because...
And this tape holds it quite well, and it's actually very temperature resistant.
Yeah,
so.
it's actually declared from minus 40 to plus 80 degrees. And if this thing gets above 80, well, maybe the server room is not that good. Okay, so this is like, well, let's say this is the third try. Yeah, it's third one.
Control S.
Control S, it's F8, F8.
Okay.
So, logical drives. So you don't need to delete them. Okay, F8. Function F8, function F3. Enter. So create. And by the way, this thing actually supports RAID 6, RAID 5, RAID 1+0 and RAID 0.
RAID 6 will give me 1.8 tera of hard drive space, so I would prefer RAID 5 with one spare, not with two spares. RAID 6 is two spares.
Okay, so yeah, let's create. And basically RAID 6 is selected by default, but we'll create RAID 5. Okay, F8. Saving configuration. Enter. And that is pretty much it.
View logical drive to verify that everything got created correctly.
Yeah, and we can actually boot. So this is awesome.
We don't need to reboot after we configured the RAID drive here.
Yes. Oh yeah, and the battery is low, so it needs to be charged. This thing will resume normally when it's charged, about a day or so.
Totally fine.
So, Linux should boot now, and I'll give you the keyboard.
Okay,
So
try number 105.
This is basically now a default installation.
Now that we have hardware RAID, we don't need to think too much, right? We have one big 2.5 tera drive, and we are, you know,
Good to go.
good to go, as we would do it on any desktop system with single drive.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we'll test pulling out the disks later.
Yeah, it should be functional.
It should be fault tolerant.
Yeah. Keywords should,
It should, yeah.
but I think that it will.
I wonder if it supports hot swap. If I can without
Yeah, it does.
Awesome, because
Yeah.
that thing here, it doesn't support hot swap either.
No, it does, because when your drive fails, you need to be able to swap it, so, you know.
Okay, you need to be able to swap it here as well, but yeah.
We are still trying to boot off of Ethernet.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Okay, very nice. So, install Ubuntu server. We don't need save graphics. This Matrox thing that is inside G200E is supported very well.
You can also run updates for the...
Yeah, that would be a good thing to do now.
And this is actually checking the installer or...
Yes, this is checking that your USB drive is correctly done, correctly created. So if it finds the files that don't match with the hashes, it will report you have a broken USB drive, you have a broken installer, the file such and such has a mismatch.
So basically, in theory, if somebody tries to hack your installation, this will tell you.
This will tell you, yes.
Okay, cool.
So Canonical has signed everything, and this is checking the signatures.
Okay. Errors found in one
More
file.
files. You might encounter errors. Which file is broken?
You know, it's kind of funny because this is the first time that this thing has appeared. This is actually a cursed server, seriously.
This is a cursed server.
Okay, but come on, I mean, one of files, we're not installing anything, so...
Yeah, we are just installing this for the test. We'll do this again, obviously, with the real OS.
An environment and whatnot.
And yeah, absolutely. So you should stop here, obviously. But since we are just demonstrating how this is done, we'll do it. Okay, update to the new installer.
And in fact, you should probably run updates, just so if the file is fucked up,
Yeah, it can get updated. Hopefully that file actually gets updated.
I think
Okay.
it will.
Continue without network. No. We get the network, so network is working. We will get updates as well. Okay, okay, okay. Now we can use an entire disk. Oh, this is so nice. Okay, we can use an entire disk and we're good to go. UEFI boot device, and the entire disk can be used as the root file system. We don't need swap because we have plenty of RAM here. But if you're concerned, you can always add swap files later, so you actually don't need a swap partition that is dedicated here. You can create it, but I will not, because 80 gigabytes of RAM is quite a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, continue. Okay, here we go again. My super secure password. Open SSH. Done. Okay, here we could install some things that are
If you wish, you can.
like some services that are like pre-configured for you by Canonical and other vendors, which is quite nice if you want to install it. I would, for example, be interested in using Kubernetes and etc. But right now I have no interest in using any of these. So potentially yes, but not right now. So we can also install these later, so we don't need to do this now. Also, the installation will be faster if we install less, so obviously, let's do it. As you can see, it's copying from the USB drive, and let's see how long does this take.
Or will it fail?
So, the installation is now finished, and it's actually downloading and installing security updates, which is quite nice feature of the installer. You don't need to do this, but you can. If you want to cancel this, then it will reboot immediately. If you don't, then it will actually take a bit of time, and then you will have less to install after the computer reboots.
No. We all know that you need to update, well, your operating systems. However, if you do work in an enterprise environment, that is very slow, and trust me on that one. The updates, yeah, they come in, but they need to be tested, especially if you work in somewhere where security is, you know, must, I would say. Then, you know, you get updates, and then you need to test whether the updates are working properly and whatnot. So theory is good, however everything else is not. Yeah. You know, for example, Windows had an update, Windows, and the update screwed up. The update was actually, you know what, Windows had a shitload of updates that were fucked up, but I can tell you two, and one I had a problem with, but thank God I have a test machine. And anyway, the update was had problems with asset antivirus, and it would just Windows would get stuck at logon. And imagine if you have I don't know, 50 machines, and everybody gets stuck on logon. So, you know. And the other one is the last one with Windows ME, with Intel ME, sorry, and a couple of machines, you know, the update crashed, and it crashed during the update of Intel ME, and if the Intel ME is corrupted, then computer will shut down within 30 minutes, and there is nothing you can do to fix that. It was, oh well, Windows. So yeah. We'll be back actually after this thing finishes, just to see whether this thing is working properly or not. So, the installer finished, and let's reboot. Okay, this is actually quite normal.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay, and we'll probably need to remove the USB stick.
That would be a good idea to do now. Yeah, definitely. Okay. The cover is somewhere.
So this will be actually last reboot.
Yes, hopefully, yes.
Not hopefully, it will be. So you know what? We'll remove the hard drive just to test to see whether this thing is actually booting or not. So, fun times. So, I think that, yeah, so let's see, it should say that the drive is degraded.
Yep.
Yeah, it should be replaced. Okay. Well, that's like oh, this one, but it should boot normally. So we'll see. Okay. And we'll be testing this drag, right?
Yeah, very soon.
After, well, let's see whether the Ubuntu will boot.
A moment after it.
Yeah, definitely. Ah, bloody pixie boot.
Okay.
Okay, but press F1. No, let's go to the UEFI for boot
F1.
manager. Okay.
Unavailable Ubuntu.
Okay. Remove settings.
Look for good settings.
Yeah, delete boot option. This one. Okay, escape. Yes, delete. Add boot option.
Okay, no array.
Why? Boot sequence. Enter.